I am here to give you a walk around of the brand new Polestar 4. You may know the Polestar 1, of course, the Polestar 2, there's a 3, and of course now there's this, the Polestar 4. In this video, we're going to do a walk around. I'm going to give you a hands-on video showing you everything that's unique about it, but there is one thing that is super unique. In fact, it's something I have never seen on any other car yet, and it's something that you may be scratching your head about because it is that different. Let's call it the Teslafication of electric cars. Now, of course, this is an electric car. It has about 100 kilowatt hour battery, which is good for around 300 miles of range. Polestar says that it has, if you get the dual motor, 0 to 60 time about 3.8 seconds. So think about it about as quick as a Tesla Cybertruck. Now, before we get into all the mechanics of it and all of the charging rates, let's talk about styling because, well, actually, let's take a step back and talk about Polestar. What is Polestar? So Polestar is a company that was formed between a partnership of Volvo and Geely, which of course is a Chinese company. Now, one of the things that Polestar has done is it has taken purity and simplicity and made it into kind of an art form. So everything on this car is kind of Swedish minimalist, and yet at the same time, a little bit Volvo-like. So you'll see the Volvo influences. And let's start with the most obvious, and these are the headlights. Now, Polestar calls these blades, but if this were a Volvo, it would of course be the hammer of Thor. But since it's not, it is a blade. And I like the styling. You know, it's very modern, very sleek. Obviously, there's not a lot of decoration. So one of my favorite things is not having chrome, and this car has no chrome. And I actually think it's a very handsome looking car in this white color. And they've taken a lot of Tesla influences. In fact, the entire automobile industry has taken a lot of Tesla influences and incorporated them into the design. So things like retractable door handles. Let me retract those for you. Actually, I'm not going to retract them for you because here's the key. Talking about minimalism, and I don't actually know where the button is to retract them. And this is kind of the problem of the new Tesla approach to everything. You reimagine what a car can be, and sometimes, if you're my age, that can be a little confusing. So I'm not going to be grumpy about it. I'm just going to say there's a lot of things here that are unusual. But one of the things that isn't unusual is it does have a frunk. So let me pop it open and you can take a look and see just how much room there is. Now, you would think that such a giant hood would have a big frunk, but it's big enough for perhaps your sandwich, maybe a lunchbox, but you're not going to fit a lot in there. I guess you could put like stinky takeout food in there so it doesn't get the cabin all stinky, but it's not a huge amount. The Polestar 3 actually has a lot more, but it does have a frunk, so that's always nice because it kind of goes to how well the car is engineered, because if they take the time to actually put in a frunk, you can see that they thought of things like, well, utility. Now, another thing that's kind of unusual about this, and I'll come over here, is the wheels. Electric cars, of course, are all about, well, like real estate, range, 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 and 22-inch tires are not exactly grand. These are 265 40 R22s. So, you know, they look good, but they do use a lot of energy. I do like these gold brake calipers. Pretty Swedish touch, but in this case, Polestar touch. Now, if you're wondering, Polestar, about the name, as an English speaker, it kind of comes across as something that is a little bit naughty, but it really isn't at all. It's not naughty. Don't think of pole and star, think of Polestar, which in Swedish is the North Star. So the logo is basically the North Star, and that is what Polestar means. All right, come on in with me. Let's talk about the interior. Uh-oh, there it goes. There go the door handles. Now remember I said this was all about the ability to be very minimalist, and you'll notice that everything in here is very, let's call it control-free. Now, not so much as a Tesla where you basically only have the screen and then 2 scroll bars here. You still do have a gear selector. You actually have a turn signal lever, which is very unusual because, you know, we just bought a Tesla Cybertruck and that doesn't have that. But you do have things that Tesla pioneered, like air controls without little vents that you have to control through the screen. Now this is a new operating system. It's Android Auto based, and for the most part it's relatively straightforward to use. They have taken colors and they have taken tiles and they have integrated them into the screen, so you can set your favorite tiles here. For instance, here we have ambience. That's kind of one of the other cool things in here. Let me show you this ambience one. It's kind of hard to show in the daytime, but basically that allows you to change the interior of the color based on the planet. So if you go with Saturn, these interior lights that you would see at night here, actually I think they're right there, would turn white. If you hit this, if you go that one with Neptune, then of course everything's going to turn blue. And of course a lot of the automakers do that, but it's kind of nice that they've incorporated planets for the different colors. The other thing that I really like about this car is the fact that there is not only a screen here, but there's also a screen there. And as you can see here, we're in kilometers because we're in Europe, but 63% of the battery with 353 kilometers, which seems like a lot. But in America, like I said, that translates to about 300 miles of range on a full battery. Another nice touch is the use of color. So we've got very colorful seat belts. Polestar says that for the four, orange is kind of the theme. And I like that, it just pops. All these materials in here are renewable and biodegradable. You can get leather as an option, but you don't have to. And in general, it just feels very light and very airy and kind of a nice place to be. You also have the thing that Tesla probably should have. If there's any car that should have it, it's Tesla, and that's a heads-up display so that you don't have to keep looking into the center screen for all of your information. Seats are very Nordic, which in other words is comfortable. And then over here, this is the thing I was talking about, there is a camera, I'll show you that, which can be switched to a normal mirror. Now, you've seen this before, so if you want to yell at the kids, you can yell at the kids, or you can see what's behind you for the camera. But there's a very important reason for this, and if you know, put it in the comments below before we get to that. The other nice thing that I like about the interior design is there's a big chunk of room right there. So if you have a purse or something bigger that you need to store, there's room for it. Wireless charging right there, and in general, a nice thick steering wheel with relatively user-friendly haptic controls right there that allow you to mirror some of the functions that are on the screen. So when you're driving along, you can control some of that stuff with taking your eyes off the road, which is very important. Now, let's just talk about pricing very quickly. The fact is that most people, at least in the United States, are not going to buy these cars because that way you don't get the tax credits. You are going to lease them, so we don't know the lease rates yet, but they start at about $56,000 if you get the single motor, rear motor unit. If you get the dual motor unit, it can go up to about $70,000. Polestar will tell you it competes with vehicles like the Macan. I think this is a dead competitor to the Tesla Model Y. Macan would be probably $20,000 more expensive. But, you can have all-wheel drive or you can have two-wheel drive. And you can have 0 to 60 at the same time as Cybertruck, which is maybe even too fast, at least for a truck. All right, let's hit the back seat and see how much room there is. Now, this is my driving position, so I'm going to sit behind myself, and let's see how I fit. All right. Big glass roof, and let me show you the magic that happens here. There's two little buttons. You can't see them. They're right there, actually. But watch what happens when I push them. Yep, the rear seat reclines. A luxury. How cool is that? And actually, it's very nice. And then just, kind of wear your eco-friendliness on your sleeve. Tailor knitted, made for zero waste, 100% RPET. I don't know if that's going to make it to America, but it is there so that your backseat passenger knows that you are not only into minimalism, Swedish minimalism, but also into recycling. Now, some other nice things, you do have a regular screen here to control your temperature gauge, which is really nice. Fan speed, this is a very thoughtful feature. And then of course down here you've got two USB-C ports, and I believe this does fold, so this is a much bigger vehicle. Have you figured out what's missing in the back yet? By looking at me, have you figured it out yet? Well, if you haven't, come on back with me and I'll show you, because this is the crazy part. Yep. Ta-da! no rear window. And that's why you need a rear view camera mirror, because the only way you're going to see out the back is through that little camera lens. And we asked, if you're not going to have a window right here, why this panel? And Polestar said the reason for that, actually the designer said, is that you've got your GPS antenna actually hidden in this panel back there. So there you go. The first car I've ever been in without a rearview mirror. And I've been talking about the Cybertruck, and I would say even the Cybertruck has that. Now, you're asking yourself, and I'm asking myself, why doesn't this car have a rear view mirror and rear view glass? Sorry, rear view glass. Why doesn't it have rear view glass back there? And the reason Polestar says is, come on with me, I'll show you, is because, actually I can show you on this side, is because without the glass, they've allowed it to have kind of a coupe-like shape, allowing you to move the kind of the seat pillar farther back, giving you more headroom, and yet giving you kind of the more sexy, cool shape. Let me know in the comments below if you believe that's true, or you think that not having, you know, rear glass in the car is kind of goofy. I'm kind of in the goofy category myself. I mean, I get what they're saying. If you move the seat pillar back farther, then it gives you more headroom, and then you don't have the need for rear glass. But my God, it's a head scratcher for sure. Anyway, there's your first look at the new Polestar 4, and I will be doing a review of the bigger and more expensive Polestar 3 later this week. So if you do have any questions about the Polestar 4, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them for you. In terms of availability, you can order them now, and they will be shipping in the fourth quarter. Now, if you're up on recent politics, you will know that the Biden administration has just passed 100% tariff actually, on cars that are electric imported from China. And guess where this is made? China, that's right, which is a problem, but they are moving production of the Polestar 4 to America. Just one, to America. Hey, turn around, show them the storks on the church tower. They're pretty cool. Can you zoom in on that? Look at that, look at those storks. How cool is that? Yeah, I've never seen that before. I know it's a car review, but nevertheless, I found that fascinating. Anyway, they will be moving production of this car to America, so that should hopefully bypass the 100% tariff on EVs that are made in China that's coming soon. So don't worry, that pricing I talked about is real. As always, this is Roman saying thank you for joining me here in Spain, and I'll be back very soon for the Polestar 3 review. And let me know if you have any comments, and I will see you next time. Ciao. Perfect timing.